You're listening to Investify, preaching financial independence and assisting investors to achieve a more flexible and free lifestyle through smart financial planning and real estate investing. If leaving the corporate world and jumping into this thriving industry is what you desire, tune in and listen to stories of like-minded individuals who made the leap to financial independence. Equip yourself with the right tips and tricks to start your real estate journey, making active or passive ventures that are highly profitable and rewarding. Here are your hosts, Craig Curelop and Zeona McIntyre.
What's going on, everyone? You are listening to Investify. My name is Craig Curelop, aka the Fi Guy, and I'm here with my co-host Zeona McIntyre, aka Z Money. How you doing today, Z?
I'm doing great. How about you, buddy boy?
I am doing fantastic. I feel like the name Z Money has officially stuck. I feel like in the beginning we had a couple different ones thrown around. I don't even remember what they are at this point, but to me, you're just like, I don't even know. I don't even see you as anything except Z Money now. So,
I need to make like a little rap video. That would be super awkward, but it would probably get a bunch of views.
You need to get a chain that says Z Money on it. Or like a grill with Z Money.
My birthday.
What is your birthday?
In July. Start
July
working
13th?
on it now, bro. July 2nd, you little bro.
July 2nd. Okay, July 2nd, everybody is Yana's birthday. Send her a gift. And maybe some
all the Z Money emblems.
We'll get her to change her name. We need someone to hack her Instagram. Anyway, speaking of hacking Instagrams, Antoinette Munroe is our guest today, who is just got such an amazing story. So I met her at a Bigger Pockets event a couple months back, and again, I'm just talking to her, and her story is like, oh my gosh, like, we need to get you on the show. It's so cool. And so, is there anything you want to add to to preface this? Yeah.
This is fun. She's like our love child, you know? So she got into house hacking, but then she supercharged it with Airbnb. And so it's just like the perfect match. But I love just having people show how Airbnb is so incredibly powerful as a cash flow generator. So definitely listen to her whole story because she's got a lot of great properties and she's done so many different strategies. So really exciting.
Yeah, and I don't know, this might be like a little weird, but I feel like she's a really like authentic, good person. Like, you know, some people you talk to and you feel like they're all business and all stuff. But like, for some reason, when I like talk to Antoinette, I'm like, I kind of want to like hang out with you. I feel like you're like a fun person to hang out with. Yeah. You know, do you get those feels?
Or yeah, totally. I mean, sometimes real estate brings out the worst in people where they're just about bragging. And so I've always said that I like FI people more than real estate people generally, because it's not really about that. It's more about creating freedom and having a good lifestyle, which she talks a lot about. So I definitely feel her on that FI side a little bit more.
Yeah, well, let's hear a little bit more, and you guys can hear her authenticity for yourself when we bring her on the show. Antoinette Munroe, welcome to the show, my friend. How are you doing today?
I am great. Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, it's so good to have you on. We chatted for a little while at the Bigger Pockets meetup a few months back, and look at us now. Right now, we're back on the show. We get, you had such a cool story. We want to share your story with everybody. So why don't you kick it off for us and tell us where you first heard about financial independence?
So I've been trying to figure that out. I wish I could just like pinpoint it and know, but I know when I graduated college in 2008, I never intended to like build out a corporate career. I wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I had student loans, so I couldn't do that right away. I had to figure out how to get rid of that. So I think after I started my job in 2009, probably shortly thereafter, I've spent lots of time Googling, I hate my job, or I want to quit my job, or like, what can I do to not work? And stumbled upon kind of the Bigger Pockets Money podcast and a couple other podcasts that I started listening to and following at that time. So it was just kind of one inkling of, okay, well, financial independence, retire early, the whole FIRE movement. I stumbled upon that in some articles. And from there, I was able to kind of like craft a plan to ultimately leave my job.
I love that. So what were you doing in 2009?
In 2009, I just started my corporate career. So my first job out of college, I started June 2009.
Okay, and what was that? Like, what was your corporate career? Was it finance, marketing?
It was sales. So I was like a sales manager for a CPG company.
Okay, and right off the bat, you didn't like it?
Well, I never intended. So before taking that role, I took the job with the intention to pay off student loans so that I wouldn't have to work. So it wasn't them, it was me, right? Like I knew I'd never wanted that path, but it would be in at the time.
Gotcha.
And
okay,
I just want to mention, because Craig is young, he's a little baby, but I graduated college at the same time. And I remember that was a really scary time, right? It was just like the financial big collapse, the drama in the housing market. Then there were like no jobs for a while. And so I don't know if you were experiencing that and kind of going, well, at least I have a job, so I should be happy about that. And I should probably stick with this one.
Well, a little bit of both. So while I was in college, I had the bright idea to purchase a home. So I actually ended up purchasing my first property at 19, but it was like without awareness. I still wasn't thinking about being a real estate investor, but it was also purchased in 2006. So I purchased my first property and then I watched the ruin of the real estate market. So it never set in that that was a viable path or something that I should consider or be pursuing. So yes, the safety of a guaranteed paycheck every 2 weeks was like, let me lock this down right now, so that I can pay the bills that I have coming up.
Was your paycheck guaranteed in a sales role?
Yes, so it wasn't commission based. I actually started with a $50,000 salary. So the first 2 years was like a management trainee program. And even after that, the preceding sales roles, they were still salary based, and then you received bonuses.
Okay, and in 2009, where were you living for this whole?
I was living in Memphis, Tennessee.
Memphis, Tennessee. Okay, so you're not looking in New York on a $50,000 salary. Maybe Memphis is relatively okay. Maybe that's a decent salary.
Market, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. All right. So 2009 happens. You're hustling at your job, and then you mentioned you kind of got sick of it. Was that in like 2017, 2018?
It was the whole time. So I never wanted to work for someone. I always felt like I was an entrepreneur at heart. And when I took that role, it was with the expectation that I'm going to do this 2-year program, pay off all of my debts, and then I'm out. I'm going to go chase a dream or go figure out what I really want to do or what would make me happy. So like I said, it wasn't them, it was me. I never intended that path. But it was also tough. It was the hardest 2 years of my life. Like, it's my first time. I'm the furthest away I've ever been from any friends or family. I know no one there. The culture shock coming from Miami to Memphis is just it was, I will say, a character defining experience for sure.
I want to just ask you this question because it's not common for people to buy a house at 19. So where was that? Do you have a person in your life that said, like, you should try to do this? Or was it something that just really excited you? Like, that seems unusual.
I've always been like very money focused, very into savings and money management. Maybe that comes from growing up without, so you get very, strategic about how you approach money or how you view money so that you don't repeat the same mistakes you may have seen the people around you making growing up. I don't know, right? Like, I was riding around like, I'm tired of wasting money on rent. It's smarter to do this. I have no idea where I got that from. But I do know that the phone call I made to one property led me to that owner hiring me to then work with him building new construction, which then helped me be able to buy a property ultimately with what I had been learning working with him.
Oh, wow. This sounds like a rich dad, poor dad thing. You got scooped up in a mentorship.
Yeah, definitely. That was definitely, I think my business acumen probably got really honed there because he was a local entrepreneur with a couple different businesses. And just at that time, he was doing some new construction builds. And I stumbled into his life and he changed mine. Wow.
So how did you get introduced to him? I think I missed that.
So I decided I was going to purchase a property and was riding around kind of looking at things. And I called one of the properties listed for sale. And I asked the price, and he's like, how old are you? I'm like, I'm 19. He was like, what makes you think you're going to buy a house? And I kind of explained my reasoning. I feel like I'm throwing away money on rent, at least this way, and I sell it later, I can kind of keep some of the money that I put into the house. And he asked me to come into his office. We had a conversation, and he asked me if I wanted a job. And the job that I took with him was kind of being the project manager to work through the new construction properties he had under works.
Oh, wow. Okay. And so this was back in 2006, you said?
Yeah, so like 2000, probably early 2006, yes.
Okay, so this is like while you're in college then. This is
Yes,
kind of like
yes.
you're in college, you're working kind of for this builder, you graduate, then you get your sales role, and then you don't love the sales role. Maybe you were a bit inspired by your rich dad with the real estate stuff. And so like tell us your story, kind of what we're after, you're in your sales role, like what's the next big thing that happens?
So I'm in the sales role. From day one, my focus is all the money I can so I can pay off the debt and move out. So I made a budget framework, my budget ABCs that I worked through to save as much as I could so that I could clear off. I think I had like $27,000 in debt at the time. And the goal was to have it paid at the end of the 2-year program so that I could quit then. So after I achieved that goal, I needed to get back home. So I'm in Memphis. I'm too far away. I still don't know what I wanted to do. So I got another job that relocated me to Miami. But I had to stay for a year to not have to pay back the relo. So the 2-year plan turned into a 3-year plan. I'm like, okay, I'm going to save absolutely every dime that I can. And then at the end of this year, I'll have a year's salary in the bank. And then I can, pursue a dream, figure out what I wanted to do. So I spent that first year back in Miami saving everything. I gave myself $400 a month. And by the end of that year, I had $50,000 in the bank.
Wow. I mean, that's really impressive for a younger person. And if you're making about $50,000 to actually save almost all of that. So, I mean, that's incredible. But what happened to the house that you had?
So it was there. It was rented out. So the entire time through Memphis, the property was rented out. Even when I moved back to Miami, I would just keep it rented to someone locally there. I think right after we bought it, the market crash was in full force. So for the entire time, it was underwater. We had to pay more to maintain it than we received in rents.
Yeah, that's
And when
hard.
I say we, it was my sister, because it was her whose name it had to go in. I had to convince her to purchase it for me. Like, I'll pay for it. I just need you to get the loan and buy it, and I'll take care of the rest. So,
Yeah.
Okay, so how did you manage it remotely when you knew kind of nothing about real estate at the time? You just did it. You just didn't know. You didn't know didn't know how
I didn't
not
know
to.
that not knowing was a hurdle. So, you just figure it out. Posted on Craigslist at the time. That was the spot where you put rentals, or throw a sign out in the yard. And that was kind of it.
And so, what told you to keep hanging on to this thing, even though it was losing you money every month? Why not just sell it and cut your loss?
I don't know. I didn't think about it at all. It was like, someone's in it. It's just a little bit. I can probably fix it up. For me, I guess ownership was important. And once you owned it, it was yours to work through. And yes, it was a bad buy, but it was only a matter of time before the market, got better and the value would go back up. Because when we initially bought it, it was a solid investment. Just so happened that 6 months later, everything hit the fan.
Wow. So you're basically like a fortune teller. You're telling me.
I am very, I think I'm very positive. I assume the best will work out, I guess.
Yes, and I was going to ask you what my future looks like.
No, so.
Okay, so Antoinette. Okay, awesome. So we got this place. Yeah, so now you're moved back to Miami. It sounds like it's probably about 2011, 2012, 2000. You paid off your debt in what, 2011, 2012?
Yep.
And
moved
then,
back
okay.
2011.
Awesome. Okay, so 2011, you moved back to Miami. You paid off all your debts. Hoorah! So what's going on now? Now we're in 2012, 2013.
So 2011, 12, I've stashed away everything I can. I have $50,000 in the bank. 2013, I get a promotion and I relocate from Miami to Orlando. It's the first place they've moved me that I'm happy. I'm enjoying my job. I still don't know what I want to do entrepreneurially, so I'm just kind of like, let's just see where the job takes me. But once I got to Orlando, I made friends. I met my boyfriend, and I kind of wanted to put down roots here. So knowing that I was potentially going to get relocated again in 2 years, but I had this boyfriend that may or may not move, I was like, let me purchase something in Orlando so I have a base here just in case I have to start traveling or I have to move. I have something to come back to. So then in 2015, I started shopping for a home that I found and bought in November of 2015. And it was intentionally, I looked for, we drew a 1 mile radius around one of the best neighborhoods in Orlando. And I was like, I'll fix it up. I don't care what condition it's in. I don't care what size it is. I just want to be in this area, and I want it to be under 200,000.
Okay, so let's dig into a little bit of that deal then. So what did you find? And
yeah, so this deal, it was like a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, 1,000 square feet, but it was like a walking distance from Baldwin Park, a really nice neighborhood, and that's where I was renting. It had been empty for about 5 years, and the owner in it she was an older lady and was moved into assisted living, so the family was getting rid of this home, but it would need a full gut. And I was like, I'm familiar. I've done a little bit of new construction. I watch a lot of HGTV. I can do this.
HGTV does not make a contractor.
It sells dreams. It sells dreams.
Yeah.
So yeah. We purchased that. We were initially supposed to close on it in June, but then the seller died the day before closing. So we had to go through like 2 rounds of probate, and finally November of that year we purchased it. But that gap was when I got the idea to convert the existing carport and screens and porch, like the right side of the house, and expand the home, adding like a family room, master suite, but more like an apartment of sorts, so that I could, get roommates, house hack, live for free, and then I would be able to save up aggressively, pay off the house in 5 years, and quit my job. So that was always like the why, the underlying factor was to not work.
Wow, so this was your first real intentional house hack, right? And this was early days house hacking, right? Like I don't even know if there was a term for it at this time. No, so you just like had this wherewithal. And so, okay, so you bought this property. How much did you say it was for?
I bought it for $169.
$169. It's a 2-bed, 1-bath, 1,000 square feet. And you said you added on to it?
Yes, so I added another 725 square feet. So essentially it's like a family room and a master bedroom suite.
Wow, okay. And so is that like an additional dwelling unit, or are you just adding?
It's an addition to the property. So it's all one single family home now. So the previous exterior side door still remains, but now with that door open, you're flowing into the family room and then over into the master suite with the door closed. It's an apartment.
Gotcha. So what did this cost to add 725 square feet?
So the initial rehab of the 1,000 square feet, I probably spent about 40 to 50,000 kind of gutting that and bringing it up to date. And then the addition was, I believe it was between 85 and 95,000 to complete that. And it's not like I had that money sitting around, right? Because everything I had saved went into purchasing the house and the kind of first round of renovations. So to start the addition, I took out a loan from my 401k. So the max I could take out was 24,000, and I was just like, we'll see, we'll go as far as this can take me, and we'll figure out the rest when we got there. So that 24,000 probably took me to the shell of the house, so the exterior was there. And then at that point, I had always been really good with my credit, very strict with money management. So I leveraged my credit, maxed out all of my credit cards to complete the rest. So I don't recommend that for anyone, but I knew I would pay it back. After having experienced that, paying off my student loans so quickly, I knew that I could pay that off immediately.
Yeah, so I just want to go into a little bit of like, how did you learn this good money management? Because it sounds like you came from a history of either not having much or just poor money management in your family. And so where did you get just those good insights and tips?
I'll say sometimes the best teacher is watching other people fail or doing some things wrong. So I think immediately there was an avoidance, like growing up in that environment, watching things go wrong. It was like, okay, I'm not doing any of that. I may not know what to do, but I knew not to do that. And then once I graduated college, I started listening to kind of Susie Orman, Howard, a little bit of Dave Ramsey. And I think from there, I kind of pulled the pieces that I felt like worked and made sense for me and created my own, my budget ABC plan with things that I felt like I could actually achieve using kind of the tips and some key points from each of those people. So it was a hybrid.
Yeah, I just love that. I love hearing that because that was similar to me where both of my parents were just not very good at money. It wasn't that they didn't mean well or, that they didn't try. They just didn't have a good example. And so it showed me what not to do, but I don't always know the best things that I can do. So it's great that you took that extra initiative to find those ways and to show people that it doesn't really matter where you come from as long as you have the mindset or the drive to find out where you want to go. So, yeah, thanks for that inspiration. Yeah. All right, Craig, take it on. I know you want to recap some shit.
How did you know? No, actually, I think so. One thing I do want to mention that you said, Antoinette, that I think might have been a little bit overlooked is that you felt comfortable maxing out your credit card debt and doing all these things, like which was a card you had to be able to play, because you knew that you could pay it off very quickly. And you proved that to yourself by paying off your student loans a few years before, $27,000 in 2 years. And you knew that you had that discipline. And so it wasn't like, oh, I hope I can pay this off. It was like, I'm so confident I can pay it off because I've already done it before. So I think in life and in anything like that, when you want to take on larger endeavors, think about what's a smaller step that you could take just to give yourself that confidence so that when you take on that bigger endeavor, it becomes a lot easier and less discomfortable, less uncomfortable. Discomfortable? That's not a word. You know what I mean. Yeah.
I definitely wouldn't recommend that for maxing out your credit cards to do a real estate deal. I definitely don't recommend that. But if you know who you are, if you are very disciplined with your finances and strategic and the amount of research that I end up doing, if you're prepared to take that risk, and I also was employed at the time, so I knew how much I made a year, and I knew how to estimate how much in savings or how much of that income I could throw towards that debt. So it only took me 18 months to get rid of. It was like $65,000 by the time the construction completed. It only took 18 months to pay that off.
Hey guys, if you're thinking about becoming a real estate agent like us, you might want to go to Kaplan. That's where I got my license, and I found that they made all this really dull information actually kind of interesting and very memorable. So if you're looking at getting your license, see if they have your state. They cover a lot of states, but not all of them. And if you want to get a little discount, use our code INVEST2. So the word invest and the number 2. Thanks, guys. So tell us a little bit about the numbers there. What was your mortgage? And as you were paying things down and then got roommates, what were you sort of earning?
Okay. So when I purchased that home, I was still coming from just a finance mindset. I was not a real estate investor by any means. So I took out a 15-year mortgage. The intent was to be able to pay it off in 5 years. And so the mortgage was about $1,500 a month for that. But once I completed the addition, rather than living in the larger home, I moved into the 1-bedroom side and decided to rent out the other. So I thought I was just going to do roommates at the time, but then I found out about Airbnb and tried that instead. And that was just that was the aha moment, the light bulb going off of, holy crap, I can throw this thing on Airbnb. In our first month of Airbnb, I made $3,500. That's twice as much as my mortgage. So now I'm living for free, and I have nearly $1,500 in cash flow. Now I need to figure out how to become a real estate investor, because I think I've just cracked the code to something special, and there's no going back from that point.
Wow. So $3,500 on a $1,500 mortgage. That was just a 15-year mortgage at that.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
And so the big thing, what you did here though, right, is that you put, 100. So you bought the place for $169,000. You put another $120,000 into it, right? Did you ever get this thing refinanced or anything like that?
So I just refinanced it last month, actually, and it appraised at $550. So over the last 4 years, the market has been really good to me. And I've definitely gotten all of the money back that I put into it, but it's still a very high cash flow property with Airbnb as well. So,
Wow. So that's the power of real estate right there, right? I mean, you just did like a house hack
yeah.
for Airbnb. You did all the things to this house, and it's increased like almost triple, more than triple actually. And now you're cash flowing. What's your new cash now with the refinance?
So on just that house, because again, this house was the beginning and it made me realize what else I could do. So that is like the first property. That one cash flows about, did you say it was, Josh, yesterday? It's like 10. That's about $6,000 a month on that one property cash flow. That's after the mortgage. And so from what I learned at that house, after it was updated, I put a home equity line on it and used that to become a cash buyer and purchased another property in 2019. So that purchase in 2019 was also a burst strategy. That also cash flows about $1,200 a month. And then I think 2021 in May, I bought a third property, and that one cash flows about $3,500 a month. But the cash flow is so high because I don't do 12 months or traditional leasing. It's always kind of a short-term rental, flexible lease model where everything is fully furnished, all inclusive, so I can charge above market rent.
Wow. Z, this is like your strategy where you're like, I don't want a lot of houses. I just want to get every piece of juice or every drop of juice from every house that I got, right? And so it sounds like, Antoinette, you've got like 3 houses that are making you almost 10 grand a month of passive income. Is that right?
Yes, actually. I think this month was our first like 15,000 a month off of those 3. And so, the first house was the Airbnb that was doing well. It kind of pushed me out of it. So I moved into a new house hack for myself, which I view as a more of a luxury house hack. I moved into a new construction property that has a garage apartment on it. The garage apartment pays half the mortgage, and the other half of the mortgage comes from just one unit at any of the other properties.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah, that's nuts. And so I guess my question is like, where do you live now? Are you still house hacking?
I'm still house hacking. I'm never paying my own mortgage. Like, that makes no sense to me. I'm never going to pay my own mortgage. So yeah, I live in a home that has a detached garage that has a garage apartment on the top.
Okay. So that's okay. That's what you're doing now. Okay, gotcha. Awesome. Okay, so now,
hear
go ahead,
a
Z.
little bit about how you go from house 1 to house 2, because that's a really hard jump for a lot of people. That sometimes they get into this place where they go, "Oh, I just got lucky," And I think that I'm under contract for a new house in a new market, and I'm realizing, wow, even though I've done this 12, 13 times, I'm still nervous. So it's like there is something about buying a home and hoping that all of your research pans out the way that you hoped it would.
Yeah, so definitely from the experience with the first house, that's where I've transitioned from Bigger Pockets Money to the Bigger Pockets Real Estate Podcast. And I'm learning everything I can. I'm going to my local Real Estate Investors Association meetings, just kind of researching. So there's probably throughout that entire edition, I'm just super research mode, learning everything I could. So I knew that once the edition was completed, to tap into the equity on that house. And I did a home equity line for that. And that was the money I was able to use. There was like maybe $180,000 in equity, and I was able to use that to purchase something else cash. So I found something else for $192. It was my neighbor in the neighborhood I was growing up in. She was moving, didn't want to list it on the market, so I was able to get a really good deal on it without competing with other buyers. So that was the second purchase. So now I'm purchasing in a market I'm familiar with because I grew up across the street from this house. I know everything about it. So that takes the edge off. It's less scary because I had the familiarity with the market and a direct connect to the owner.
Yeah, so was that like in Miami or was that in Orlando
Yes.
still? Okay, cool.
So that was in Miami. I'm living in Orlando, and then I purchased the second property in Miami.
Well, and just for people to have reference, Orlando and Miami are about 4 hours apart. So it's not
Yeah.
like you're driving over there to fix any little thing. You had to build a team and figure out how to do this whole project from afar.
Yes, so I found a contractor through a referral. I went down when I closed on it, stayed for a week to get it started, to kind of lay out what I wanted done in the house, and would kind of check back every 2 weeks, come down on the weekend. So it was a quick trip. And it was a really quick rehab. It was mostly cosmetic, so it only took about 45 days to kind of get the property, do the rehab, and ultimately burr out of it.
Nice. I know Craig's got a question. Go for it.
Yeah, Antoinette. So it sounds like the way you're kind of like leveraging property to property is through HELOCs, right? Home equity lines of credit. I know it's been difficult for a lot of people to get these HELOCs on investment properties. So are you actually getting the HELOC before you move out? So it's considered
Yes.
like your primary home?
Right, so I can get the HELOC on the primary. So the first house was the only HELOC I was able to get, and I was able to use that to get the second house. Once I purchased that second investment property, I moved into a new primary residence. And at that point, I didn't have a HELOC opportunity anymore. So my burr strategy switched from being able to do that in my personal name to now burring into my LLC. And that's how I have to refinance now, using a DSCR loan.
Gotcha.
Okay. There's a lot of things to unpack. I want to talk about the DSCR loan because that's been like a big keyword lately. But let's just have a timeline check here. So you moved down to Orlando, what was that, like 2013?
2013, yes.
Okay, cool. So you had this house and then you had to pay off all the credit cards. So you're probably 2014 or 2015 before you get the next place?
2015 was when I purchased the kind of the first one that was the beginning.
Okay. Wait, is that the one that was with the addition or was that the one down in Miami?
Yes, that's the one.
So when did you get the one in Miami?
November of 2019, I purchased that one. So from 2015 to 2017 was just like transforming that first house. 2018 was the full year of Airbnb and kind of learning everything I could about real estate investing. So when I think it was at somebody's wedding, February 2019, where I said for the first time, I'm a real estate investor, or I'm going to be a real estate investor. So then April of 2019, I put a contract on the new construction home. That would be my new primary, and it was going to be a year before that was completed. So halfway through that, November 2019, I purchased the second property and completed that. So now, once we hit 2020, I closed on the new primary residence, and then COVID takes over the world. And I'm kind of like, well, crap, what do I do now? I'm sitting frozen, not knowing what to do next because, I'm a baby real estate investor. I just started. I've done 2 deals. So I sat out that year, and I actually lost my job in August of 2020. So I wasn't actively in the market or looking for anything. I was just kind of maintaining what I had. It wasn't until January of 2021 that I got active again and partnered on a flip with someone.
So tell us a little bit about what happened to your Airbnbs during.
Wow, okay. So you lost your job in August 2020. And does that mean that you basically, did you get a new job in January 2021, or did you just say, you know what, like, hey, I think I'm good. Like, I think I'm financially free, maybe in like the baseline way, and now I want to scale up and just do full-time real estate. Is that what you did?
Both things happened. So by August 2020, when I lost my job, it was just like, okay, because everything I had been doing the years previous was setting the stage. I didn't have any bills, and I had cash flow coming in from Airbnb rentals. So there wasn't a negative impact. It was like more like a thank you, because I was there longer than I was supposed to be. A 2-year career turned into 10 years. So it was just like, okay, fine. But instead I chose to take a job with a contractor that I knew as a project manager, because I was like, maybe if I better align with things that I'm interested in, that might be a job that I enjoy more. So as a project manager, but pretty quickly I realized that also wasn't what I was after. I didn't really want to be a contractor. So I left that job in April of 2021, and I've been out on my own ever since.
Gotcha. So did you take a pay cut, is my when you went from
Yes.
your sales job, just to get into something that you liked more?
Yes, absolutely. But by house hacking and eliminating my expenses, by creating other sources of income, I now had the flexibility to choose what I wanted to do, and it didn't have to be dependent on money. Like I didn't need to make a certain amount. So now the career opportunities I could look at was just like, does it resonate with me? Do I like it? Is this something I could see myself doing? And it wasn't about the income anymore. And I think that's the point of financial freedom. You can retire early, or you can just use that freedom to choose.
Yeah, no, I love the idea of taking a step back, right? Getting less pay to move your career forward, right? You got to cut the lawn to make it grow, right? Like it's one of those things where, you have to take a step back sometimes to move a few steps forward. And I love that you did that. And now, you're partnering. It sounds like you're partnering with real estate, and you've made a whole bunch of connections through that in that way. Is that right?
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely been a learning experience through all of those. But as a result of kind of getting closer aligned to what I was interested in, taking that contracting job, now I have a partner that I've been doing flips with. So I'm just getting deeper into real estate investing because I was able to give myself the flexibility of choice and not be dependent on making a certain salary.
That's awesome.
Right. So how does that partnership work?
It's a 50-50 partnership, so we just split things straight down the middle. 50% to purchase it, 50% on all expenses throughout, and on the management. Obviously, he's a contractor, so he's handling the majority of that, but I have project management skills, so I can manage the project. I have my realtor's license, so I'm also going to be able to offload the property, and I fancy myself a designer, so I get to make them look good.
Yeah, hell yeah. Okay, awesome. So it's great that you've discovered like a split that works. And do you guys have an LLC together, or how do you go about the kind of the legal side of things?
We don't have an LLC. We talk about making joint venture agreements, but quite honestly, it's really just a friendship and trust. At some point when we get more serious, a joint venture agreement will be in place. And I think we previously drafted one, but never executed it. But that would be the route that we would take, just do a JV.
Okay, perfect. Can you maybe describe like why do a JV over an LLC over a whatever else there is? Like what's the difference?
It was easier, less paperwork, quite honestly, than to create an LLC. So if we knew that for a number of years or long term, we were going to build out a business together and work together, we'd probably go the LLC route because it would be more of a permanent, long term thing. But because it's kind of case by case, a deal here and there, maybe one deal a year, if it's easier to just do the JV for us than to go through the hoops of having an accountant or attorney create the LLC for something that we're ultimately going to dissolve shortly after.
So what I always think of, and this could totally be wrong, is that like a JV is typically when like you and someone else are both active in the venture, right? Where an LLC, you could have like a silent partner, and you could have, right, it's a little bit more loosey goosey in terms of like but there's more like detailed and defined roles in a joint venture, and so that's just like in my head how it is. I'm not a lawyer, so I could totally be wrong. Definitely talk to your legal attorney when talking about what structure to open. But yeah, maybe you could shed some light onto that.
Yeah, so I mean, I have a ton of partnerships, but I own houses, I think 3 houses with 2 or 3 people. I don't know, I get confused. There's just so many. Actually, it's 3 people, and we've done joint ventures. We started with LLCs and found that it was just a lot more to file taxes and complicated, and you have to kind of like re-up every year about filing certain paperwork. So I think a joint venture is great. And I also think that you should have a joint venture agreement if you're going to have an LLC, because it really details whose role is what happens if one of you die. Like there's just so many little details in there that are important to have. So Antoinette, get your paperwork done. It'll be worth it.
Absolutely. And for us, we're both like active in it
Yes.
daily. So the JV fits for us. I know next project we'll definitely get our paperwork together. But so far we've done 2. We're on our second one right now, and it's been good.
Yeah, so I'm curious, like, what's the vision? Because it sounds like between the properties you own, you have enough cash flow, you could probably just stop. But I know that's hard for a lot of people when they're entrepreneurial and I don't know, just motivated and want to keep learning and growing, it's hard to stop fully. So where do you see yourself going?
Well, definitely the goal for me was always freedom. Real estate investment just became a vehicle that accelerated the path. So I'm not necessarily looking to scale and have like this huge portfolio. Of course, I want like max usage out of every property that I have. So I'm also looking at a couple of them to switch that model into a group home, because that would be kind of the next best cash flow opportunity outside of short-term rental. But also, I'm just trying to live and enjoy life. So I points hack, so I get to travel the world for free. I'm spending a lot of money on these rehabs, so I'm leveraging credit and rewards points programs to finance my gallivants around the world. So my goal, what's next, it's always how do I maximize my life with what I have, versus being consumed with kind of chasing more.
Yeah, I love that.
Okay, so what are your top 3 credit cards to real quick? We don't want to go down this rabbit hole too much,
Change
but
all the time, Craig.
No. So for sure, it'll be quick and easy. So I always focus on rewards points first, because you can always catch a flight deal somewhere. So I'll make sure to get all of my branded Marriott cards across Chase and Amex. I'll get my branded Hiltons, each version that I can get, and I can do that for personal and business. And then my everyday spending is my Chase Sapphire Reserved. So that's my trifecta if you just like the quick and dirty. I have tons more cards, but that's enough to get started. So you can have a Marriott with Chase and with Amex. So I have both of those plus the business versions. And then with Hilton, it's just Amex. So I have the personal and the business.
gotcha. Boom.
I'm
There you
curious
go.
because I do this a little bit, but it's like, do you keep your cards open? Because I'm the type that I open a card and then I close it after a year, and then I open a card because I'm hustling the bonuses. But the real big players will have like 20 to 40 cards open, and they know which ones to use when, and they're just kind of like super into it. So where do you fall?
So it depends on them. I keep the majority of them open. For Amex cards, you only get the bonus once, so I open it and I keep it if it's a chain I'm going to use. If it's like a airline card, I can only get that once, so I'll open it, get my bonus, close it. For Chase cards, you usually can recycle those every 2 years, so I'll keep it open, then close it, and that in 2 years I'm eligible to re-up for another bonus.
Yeah. Okay. Love it. I just booked like business class flights and like a bunch of travel in Europe, and I'm just like, oh my god, points are amazing. Plus,
They
like
are.
lounges.
Oh my god.
Woo.
Yes, we
Lounges are
just
everything.
spent 8 days in the Maldives in an overwater bungalow, and I didn't
way.
pay for this room, right? Like I just found a cheap flight, and my accommodations was free, and that was 2 rooms. We were able to do this with 2 rooms. So like points hacking, rewards points, that adds to the FI life. People think FI is all about like just sacrificing sadness, and it's really not. If you're strategic with kind of all of the different techniques you can use and levers you can pull, points hacking is definitely one where you can like make your daily sacrifices, but still also have these bonuses or experiences in life.
So if you're using this Hilton card or the Marriott card, that's not just for that hotel, right? You can also use flights. You can also use it for a bunch of other things too. Is that right?
Yeah, you can use it for whatever. So for each of those cards, I will use it up to the bonus, the kind of minimum spend to get my bonus. Once I have my bonus, I don't touch any of the branded cards unless I'm at that establishment. My everyday spend card is going to be that Chase Sapphire Reserve, because there I'm going to earn access to flights, hotels, to everything through the Chase portal. So if it's a branded card, I'm just going to get the sign-on bonus and then only use it when I'm at the hotel. But Chase is every day.
So is your accounting like a nightmare if you've got all these credit cards like funneling into your QuickBooks system and or whatever and all that? Or
No, I try to make it easy for them. So each card has a particular property or use that it's for. So that way when it goes into QuickBooks, he knows this card is this house.
Gotcha.
So it doesn't get too complicated for him.
Okay, perfect. Okay, awesome. All right, Antoinette. I think it is about time that we head into our final four.
Do you have any words of wisdom?
Words of wisdom. Yes. House hack. Your first real estate purchase should be something that makes you money, not makes you have to go to work every day.
Boom.
Yeah.
Love that. Love that.
Yeah.
Put money in your pocket. Don't take it out.
Exactly.
All right. Well, then, Z, are you ready?
I am. All right. So question number 1, Antoinette. What are you reading right now?
Well, I have this book that
For anyone who can't see us right
for
now,
anyone who can't see,
the
it's the house hacking strategy.
Woo!
By Craig
It's funny
Curelop.
'cause
Yes.
I can't see it, but
It's amazing. The author was awesome. He signed it for me. I'm just like, it's been life-changing.
boom. Yeah, I hear it's a really good book. One of the best.
Absolutely.
The whole time you're reading it, are you like, I already know all of this, whatever.
Yeah.
No, I feel like, how do I make friends with him? Oh my God, we're thinking the same things. We should be working together. How do we stay connected? That's what I think when I read the book.
Okay. I love that.
Yeah. There's. Oh. Thank.
Okay.
Second question is, what's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
That is a very good question. I think the best piece of advice I've ever received would have been from my mom. And anytime I call to ask her for advice, her response is always, you seem to be doing a pretty good job. Trust yourself. You know what you're doing. So I'll say trust myself is the best piece of advice, because there's so much noise. There's so many other opinions and varying opportunities that it can get confusing, and sometimes your own voice can be kind of overshadowed. So the more that you can be aligned with like what you want for yourself and what your values and beliefs are, I think that's kind of more fuel that can propel you with whatever your goals are or whatever path you're taking.
Love that.
All right.
Trust yourself.
Question number 3. What is your why? I forgot for a second.
So my why initially was to have the freedom of choice, primarily, to not like need money or have to do anything. The why was always freedom. Like, how do I be free, have free time, have free choices, have free money to use? And I think now that I've achieved those kind of those preliminary goals, my why is starting to redefine itself, and turning more into, who can I bring with me? Because this is cool, but it's better with friends. So I think the why is in flux and going from my own personal freedom to how do I bring other people along?
I love that. Yeah, this journey is no fun by yourself. All right. Number 4. Okay. What kind of secret society would you like to start?
Oh man. Come on, I listened to all the shows and I couldn't have predicted this question coming. What kind of secret society? I guess if I made up a secret society, it would be like the secret society of the cheapies or something, right? Like, my friends and family, they refer to me as the cheapest person they know. And I just feel like my cheapness is the best thing about me. I'm so cool that I can travel for free and I live in this house hack. So I would create a secret society of other like money nerds, cheapskates, where we're out here living our best lives despite what people think about our extremes.
Yeah, staying in the Maldives in a bungalow or whatever. Like, that's hell yeah, for free somehow. Like, what? I hope you do some sort of YouTube video or blog post on that.
I need to. I'm really bad at social media and kind of just starting all of that. So I'm struggling through it. I've created a website and a new Instagram. So when you see it, it's just like, it's a baby, but it's growing. So definitely I'll share some pics from that trip.
Yeah, and I guess that leads into our final question is, where can people find out more about you?
All right. Well, you can find me on Instagram at Fearless and Free FI. And also, I have a website now, fearlessandfreefi.com.
Great.
Boom. Check out Antoinette and her story at Fearless and Free FI. Anything else we want to add before we conclude today's show?
That's it, Craig. Put people on the spot, bro.
Yeah, sorry. Honestly, I was like, how do we end it? I had a brain fart.
So I'm working on sharing more, which is why I created the website and Instagram, and actually putting together a course just kind of detailing how I was able to pursue financial freedom through real estate investing. So if you want to learn more about that, check out the website, check out the Instagram.
Check out the website, check out the Instagram, and if you're in Orlando, hit up. Are you in Orlando right now? Or
Yes, I'm in Orlando.
If you're in Orlando, hit up Antoinette, and who knows? Maybe she'll grab a drink if you're ever so lucky. But until then, Antoinette, we'll see you later.
Thank you.
And that was Antoinette Munroe. Z, what'd you think of Antoinette?
She's great, and I love her story, but I also love that she said that she listens to all of our episodes. Because she couldn't predict that question, and I was like, oh yeah, somebody's listening to our show? I like that. It makes me excited.
Yeah, I love that too. I love that. I also love that she was reading my book. I don't know if she's doing that just because she's on the show today. But no, I think she's taken a lot of valuable lessons, and it also seems like she hasn't made that many mistakes, right? And I'm sure she has made mistakes, but she's done her research and knows kind of how to navigate her way through them. And I love that she kind of like took the step of paying off the debt, and then she felt comfortable and confident to then go ahead and like put a rehab on her credit card, which is an extremely risky thing to do for most people, and we would not recommend you do it. But she did it because she knew she could pay it off, and now the house tripled or quadrupled in value since she bought it. So again, I don't know, super impressed with her story. Love what she's doing and love where she's going. And by the way, spending a week in the Maldives, like what?
Sounds dope. That's kind of like a dream of mine, but I've always felt like I'm too cheap to like spend that much money on a bungalow. But now I'm like, oh shit, I need to just get my points game up. That sounds dope. So.
That's what I'm saying. That's like one of our dreams is to go to the Maldives. We were thinking about doing our honeymoon there, and I'm like, I don't know. Maybe we go to like Florida instead. Yeah.
Oh God, not the same, Craig. Not the same.
Basically, just close your eyes so you're in the same place. Oh
my God.
All right. Well, if you like this show, you like this episode, please leave us a rating and review on iTunes. We appreciate it so much. Let us know when you leave a review. Hit us up on Instagram. I'm at the Fi Guy. Zeona is
Zeona McIntyre.
And we will see you all next week. I'm not giving you shit this week. You're expecting it.
Bye.
That's it for this episode of Investify. We hope that these nuggets of real estate wisdom lead to more savvy financial planning and a clearer path towards financial freedom. For more content like this, subscribe to the show at investify.com. Don't forget to leave a rating and share it with your friends. Together, we can transform more real estate newbies into successful and clever investors. Thank you so much for listening. See you on the next one.